tonight for this race of easy mode flag set. What's this mean for us tonight, Maggie?
Hey, good evening, everyone, and good evening to my co-commentator, J Money Motas. So tonight we are looking at a flag set. This is kind of an interesting flag set, especially one where they're calling it easy mode. We're starting with a forced Porum start. We only have 5 characters available to us. And another one to note here is that there is no glitches available, including no life glitches. One of the most common flags that we do see usually available is the life glitch, and that one is turned off tonight. So we're going to see which one of our runners on screen is going to attempt that life glitch, forgetting that that is not available to them this evening.
Yeah, for a lot of our players, it's kind of automatic to try to get that extra experience. Tonight we've got Pixel Tamer, Rumblefish82, Kobahi, and Kate Sith 2 about to start, and we're going to see what the first item is and the first extra character.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only going to be 5 characters available. However, the no dupes flag is not on, so they could potentially end up with 2 Porums to start here. We're just about to find out who their second character is going to be and if they start with another key item. And it looks like we're going to be starting with an Edward along with their Porum and a Darkness Crystal.
Really interesting start here. Edward would normally be kind of not what we want to see in the second character. However, the spoon flag is on, which can mean he can be a valuable damage dealer, if not less squishy than he even is. But Moon Access right away is also kind of interesting and also opens up a very popular grind location as well in the Giant of Babil right away.
Yeah, absolutely. They also have the potential to go up and get another kind of free character right away if they want to check the Moon Dais. That's a character location that they won't have to fight anything for, since I think no free lunch is on tonight. And they also might be wanting to do some other, like the shop check up there. They can also check like some items up there in some potential free chests that are available in like the Cave of Bahamut, things like that.
Yeah, and that cave, that character they can find up there can be Fusoya or Edge, since it's behind a key item. So even though they're restricted, they're definitely possible. With a S3 on, even the shop might be good. We do have J items on tonight, which are always popular to try to find some of those in a shop. Can definitely change the game for you.
So we see our characters doing, or our runners doing, kind of the standard Baron route here, getting as many of the free items that are available in the Baron checks here. It looks like Rumblefish has decided to go up to Damcian right away to loot out the treasury in Damcian, and just kind of doing the standard item and item shop checks right away. We see some Moon Veils and some Cure 3s down on Kobahi's shop. Those are very, very popular items. Moon Veils especially can be very, very useful, as they grant the barrier effect, which not only blocks spells like the wall spell does, but it can also prevent physical attacks from afflicting the character that they use that Moon Veil on.
Yeah, and with the T4 treasure setting on, money won't be too big of an issue, so I would expect a lot of our runners to pick up some of those Moon Veils at their first opportunity.
Seeing some more item checks here. Pixel Tamer looks like they're going down into Damcian. It looks like Kobahi is also going into Mist. There are several items in Rudia's mother's house that are available, as well as in the grass here. There's also a weapon and an armor shop. There's not an item shop in Mist Village, but there is a weapon and an armor shop available for our runners to check. Looks like Rumblefish has found Hourglass 2s. Hourglasses are a very powerful J item that grant the stop status on all enemies that don't have the boss bit. So definitely going to be looking for picking up some of those for any kind of random encounters, like trapped chests that they may be doing.
Yeah, especially with such a weak party, the hourglasses are definitely a nice find, because it will enable you to fight some trap chess battles and or some grind battles that would normally be pretty scary with this party.
Yeah, absolutely. And also some certain grind encounters, like maybe the gold dragon grind that's available up on the moon to them. We did see a Hobbs character check up on Pixel Tamer's screen. That character is a Rydia. So far, we are looking at a fairly weak start for our party here. Porum, Edward, and Rydia can all be very viable, very powerful characters in their own right, but they all start out pretty weak at the start of the game.
Yeah, we see a Pixel Tamer. This is where our runner decision making is going to come to play because Pixel Tamer did not choose to fight this battle, whereas Rumblefish is going for this Magus Sisters fight.
Yeah, I don't. It kind of depends on what items you've picked up. If Rumblefish has something like Stardust or some other J item that they can maybe use to take on these Mega Sisters that will get through that wall, they could maybe take this fight out pretty quickly and easily. I did also see down on Kateseth's screen that they picked up a Sylph summon out of a chest. I think it was in Damsian. So that's going to make that Rydia pretty powerful. Sylph is a very good summon. So, you know, if they can get that Rydia and get that Sylph summon on her, she can be a pretty powerful character early game.
Yeah, and if you're just joining the community and haven't, been watching a lot of these races or races with the correct flags on, Sylph Summon deals damage and heals your whole party, and there's a glitch in the game where it doesn't actually consume MP as long as it hits. So even a low-level Rydia can kind of just spam it.
I also saw on Kobahi's screen while he was doing some inventory management that he has a Bahamut summon. I'm not sure where he picked that up. I didn't see it, but that's also going to make Rydia very, very powerful once she has enough MP to cast it.
Yeah, so we can see the runners that pick up that Sylph or Bahamut are definitely going to be more willing to do that battle to get Rydia for sure.
It looks like Rumblefish is going to be the first of our on-screen runners to go and raise the Lunar Whale. That's what that Darkness Crystal does that we got at the start of the game. If you go into Mysidia, you can raise the Lunar Whale, and that will allow you to go to the moon. And on the moon, we'll see they may be looking for the character. They may be doing some shop checks up here. So we'll see what Rumblefish is probably looking for the character to start with, is what I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to invest in the cutscene to get the whale this early and go to the moon, then you got to expect the character check's going to happen and at least the shop check's going to happen. Maybe some other stuff just to see if Bahamut is perhaps a free boss, but otherwise not ready for the bosses in the lunar subterranean.
It looks like Pixel Tamer did get through the boss that was at the bottom of the Antlion Cave. That was the trio of Dark Imps. That's a pretty easy boss that's available. And they did get the package for their trouble. The package is a key item that you can bring to Mist Village that will allow you to get another character check. It does involve a pretty long cutscene, so it does look like Pixel Tamer is going for it. And we see that there is a Sid available in Mist Village.
Yeah, that's a nice boost. Physical attacker at this point, especially one at Sid's level, is going to be very helpful to kind of power through the early spots that they have not yet seen.
Looks like he's deciding to reset out of that. That is a pretty long cutscene, like I mentioned. It's a cutscene, and then it involves a boss fight in Kaipo in order to get that character. So it looks like he's passing on that for now. And over on Rumblefish's side, it looks like the character on the moon was another Rydia. And as we mentioned earlier, with the no dupes flag not on, that could potentially be two Rydias that they could have in their party if anyone decides to get both the Rydia on the moon and the Rydia on Mount Hobbs.
Yeah, and with the 5-character restriction, we have to think that Pixel Tamer may be banking on being able to get Sid from another character check spot as well. Just didn't think that the cutscene and extra boss fight was going to be worth it. Although knowing that Bahamut and Sylph are both very easily obtainable, multiple Rydias is looking very good if other players go up and check the moon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple Rudias with those summons is going to make early and even mid game much more manageable, even with a weaker party such as this. This is kind of turning out to be our reject percent party. If anyone was familiar with the World Series of a Free Enterprise flag set, we had a party that was comprised of what was considered to be the rejects, which was Porum, Sid, Edward, Rydia, and Tella, I believe. So if there is a Tella in this flag set, then that would be our reject percent party.
Meanwhile, Pixel Tamer here is doing a vanilla gauntlet. You see a little bit of vanilla strats here with the Dancing Dagger. Very useful item, which is gotten in the vanilla speedrun using a glitch to be able to get in a mist village early to check the treasure, and the weapon shop. And we see Rumblefish going to Antline Cave, Kobahi also going to Antline Cave, so they're going to find that package as well, and we'll see what they do with it.
Down on Kateseth's screen, it looks like Kateseth is doing a Mist Dragon check. I saw him go into the Mist Cave, and Antlion was waiting for him in there. And then he went into the waterway, and it looked like there was a blue-robed figure, which, knowing that the Fabul Gauntlet is in Fabul, that looked like that was going to be the Water Hag fight in the waterway there.
Yeah, and that's an interesting strategy because it does take some time to check those bosses, but checking them and knowing that Mist Dragon's not there is an advantage. And also, if Mist Dragon had been there, it's a good way to get ahead of your opponents if Mist Dragon has an item you need.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are not going to make that check, and it doesn't take very long at all to, while you're running around doing the rest of your shopping and early item checks in the early part of the game like this, to make those checks. So if there had been a Mist Dragon there, that could have put Kateseth in a considerable advantage.
Pixel Tamer here is almost through the gauntlet, so we'll see what the King of Fabul is going to cough up.
Yeah, Gauntlet is kind of a long and annoying fight no matter where you find it. Kind of nice to get it out of the way early so you don't find it in a really nasty high power spot later on in the game.
Just a ribbon there, but yes, we would like to see it now because Moon Gauntlet is really time consuming. So
absolutely, and that ribbon, even though it's not a key item, is definitely a nice find. It's one of the most powerful, I think it is the most powerful headgear for pretty much everyone. Prevents a lot of status ailments. So not a key item, but definitely not something that you're going to turn down either.
Yeah, and we got to expect, Pixel Tamer may be disappointed that there wasn't a key item there, but you got to expect that almost all of our runners are going to check Fabul, even though it's the gauntlet, just because it's too tantalizing to pass it up when it's such an easy spot.
Rumblefish is going into Baron Inn. We'll see if he's going to actually do the character check, the key item check here. Yes, it looks like he is going for that key item and character check here. Odin is the first boss in this. There's two bosses here, and Odin is the first one available here.
Yeah, great place to see Odin. Very low HP spot, so he does not get the chance to wipe you. Can't say that's bad. I would say a lot of our players will at least peek at, try to figure out what the second boss here is, and it's Bahamut. So,
yeah. It looks like his Iridia does have Sylph. Depending on what other items and weapons are available, there's a good chance he might have this might be able to do this, especially if he's got a Star Veil that he can throw on one of his characters. All Bahamut is going to do is do a countdown from 5, and then when he hits the 0, he's going to Mega Nuke. And if even one of your characters has Wall, either from a Star Veil or a Moon Veil or something like that, that Mega Nuke is just going to bounce right off that wall back onto Bahamut. So there's a good chance that this is a very doable spot for Bahamut here.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter if your characters die because this battle gives no experience anyway. So, and you get a full heal afterwards, so you can kind of just YOLO it a little bit. Looks like easily through that, and gonna see what the item is here, and it's the magma key. So no hook seed tonight. Sorry, viewers. I know we like the runners to suffer, but it's gonna be the quick magma key.
Yeah, that is one of 2 ways for our runners to get underground access, the magma key being the easier of the 2. So all you have to do once you have the magma key is go to the town of Agart, drop that in the well, that opens up the hole and lets you go down into the underground. So I'm sure that Rumblefish will be doing that pretty quickly here. Usually once once we see our runners get underground access, they head down there pretty quickly because there's a lot of extra key item checks available underground.
Yes, and the dream is still alive because Miss Dragon could be in Upper Babel behind the hook, holding the dark or the regular crystal. You never. It's not over till go mode.
Yes, I've seen Miss Dragon in all sorts of trolly places, including at the Kaipo Guards spot that's behind that package that people keep resetting out of. So, you know, I know that nobody likes to go through that cutscene to get the package character, but you never know when it's going to be required if there's a Mist Dragon behind it.
Still a little confused here. We still haven't seen what the 5th character could be. We know we've seen Sid in addition to the characters we've already obtained, but there's still room for one more.
Yeah, now that Rumblefish is going underground, there is another character check available in the Dwarf Castle. So we'll see if he's going to show us that anytime soon and see if we can find out who that last character is.
Some rare item checks being checked here by Rumblefish. You don't see a lot of players checking the chests in Agart Town.
Yeah, they're a little bit out of the way. So a lot of times you don't see that, but with this T4 flag, you know, our runners are, you're going to see our runners going kind of out of the way to check a lot of those item and chest spots that you maybe wouldn't normally see them do. We see Rumblefish loading up on life potions here. And again, we'll see if any of our runners are going to try to do that life glitch at some point, forgetting that the life glitch is off in this flag set. Lots of summons available for our Iridias. I've seen, besides the Bahamut and the Sylph, I just saw Kobahi find an Ashura in the pot in the Fabul throne room, and I've also seen an Odin come up a couple of times here. So lots of summons available for the Summoner of Mist tonight.
Yeah, and so far we don't have any other source of black magic either, so Riddy is looking like could be very MVP-ish here once the mid game hits.
Rumblefish just pulled a crystal sword out of one of the chests in the Land of the Summoned Monsters. Would be great if we found a Cecil as our last character.
Yeah, and none of our players have gone to Ordeals yet, which, if Cecil's the 5th character, that's definitely going to be a must-do. So it'd be nice to see what those 3 bosses are.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like it was just a white shirt in the key item chest in the Land of the Summoned Monsters. I think we've actually already found at least one of those in another chest already. So again, a very nice item, one of the best protective item gears that you can find, especially for your white mages. And with a couple of forums, probably not sad to see it, but it's not a key item.
We're past the point where probably our players would use as well, but it should be noted that here in the randomizer, because the game doesn't expect you to have multiple of the same character, you can still use the twin command. If you have 2 of any twin, it doesn't have to be different twins.
Yeah, good point. You can twin with 2 Porums, 2 Palums, any combination of the 2. Actually, a very effective way to get through early parts of the game if you do end up with, 2 Porums or 2 Palums before you have another source of damage early in the game. Looks like Pixel Tamer did get through the Odin and Bahamut fights and is following Rumblefish down into the underground. And Kobahi is in that Bahamut fight right now and is probably going to be joining them very shortly.
Yeah, we are seeing some convergence here as what happens is basically most players do not want to check Ordeals because it takes a long time for a single key item check. So once they have underground access, they're going to come down here where the checks are more efficient. It's just the common strategy. So we're going to see most of our players go in the same direction now that they have the magma key access.
I saw Rumblefish go and check the bosses down at the bottom of the Fame Arch. I believe there was a Kanyatsu down there, and that's going to be a very difficult boss. Kanyatsu does a wave attack, which will do damage based on the boss's hit points. And those boss spots, both of them, have quite a lot of hit points. So that is a very nasty spot to find that particular boss.
Yeah, Kanazo's Wave is one of the few attacks in the game where there's really no way to cheese it. I mean, we do have Edward. There's some more complicated strats with hide timing you can do to try to get around it, but otherwise, that's going to take an almost endgame party to get through those checks. And we also still can't check the Odin boss spot because we don't have Baron Key. That's another check that's hiding on the overworld kind of randomly.
Yeah, even with the adamant armor that I think most of our runners have found that was in the Antlion Cave, that's not going to mitigate any of that damage from that wave from the Kanyatsu. So yeah, they're just going to have to have enough hit points. And with this party, there's not a lot of hit points to go around unless they go and pick up that Sid. Or find the last character, and it's someone who has more hit points available for them.
Yeah, and Rexer pointing out that those bosses are pretty fast spots, and it probably, I mean, no one has really done any grinding yet. So at their agility levels, it wouldn't be unheard of to enter the battle and Kanazo does a wave before your party even gets to do anything.
Rumblefish went into Sylph Cave and talked to Yang, even though the pan has not been found yet, and then went up and talked to Yang's wife Sheila and got a spoon for his trouble, and is now going to be equipping Edward with that spoon. Normally in the vanilla game, the spoon was an item that Edge could dart, and that is still true. It is the most powerful item that Edge can dart, but in Free Enterprise with the spoon flag on, it is now an item that Edward can equip, and it makes Edward quite the powerhouse. So we're going to see quite a bit of damage coming out of Edward now on Rumblefish's screen.
Yeah, Edward just became the best damage dealer in the party right now. Pixel Tamer also showed us the profession dwarf in Tamra, operations analyst. It looked like. We'll see what's going on. Kobahi is looting Dwarf Castle. Maybe going to try for the character check here. You're seeing a lot of our players are very treasure centered here. That's two reasons for that. The T4 setting, of course, is a part of that, but they're checking a lot more than usual on T4. That just has to do with the fact that this party is going to be way more reliant on equipment than your traditional party with frontline bruisers.
Yeah, we see Kobahi even going in and doing a bunch of the item checks in Dwarf Castle. We don't see that too often, except in something like this T4 flag set. There are a lot of chests and items that you can get out of Dwarf Castle, but it does take a little while to get to all of them. Thankfully, he did have an exit that he could use to get out of there, because if you get them, but then you have to walk out, that takes even extra time. So if you have an exit, it's a little bit more worthwhile to be able to go get all those treasures.
And Pixel gonna grab some levels here. I don't know if he found some sirens in shops. I didn't think we found them yet, but I do know there were some in chests. So just gonna pop one here and get some levels before going to probably Dwarf Castle, I would say.
Sirens were actually available in, we just saw them on Kobahi's screen. They're down here in Tomra.
Well, that's excellent. Just when our players need them.
Yes, exactly. So that we did just see Pixel Tamer do one of the more popular grind fights that's available, especially once players hit the underground, which is that egg grind. If you use a siren over on the western side of the map, you can summon that egg. It's worth quite a lot of XP, 34,000 I think right now, and even double that if you reach the 10 key item threshold, which allows you to get double XP.
Oh, yeah. So just due to the nature of the flags tonight and how many areas are included in the key item rotation, it's going to be a while before anybody gets 10 key items. So we might see kind of a split grind where they do one now just for the levels that they absolutely need to get through some of these checks, and then one later once they get the double experience.
Yeah, that's not uncommon at all to do just a couple of those eggs early on, just to help you get through the mid-game. Here we see Pixel Tamer going up into Dwarf Castle, and we see some dancing elements. The elements are the first fight of 2 boss fights that are going to happen here in Dwarf Castle. If he can get through this, he will have a key item check, and also we might get a chance to see who this last character is.
Pixel with that swag Chocobo summon.
It looks like Pixel hasn't found or hasn't used any of the extra summons for Iridia, and also hasn't gotten the spoon yet for Edward. So this could be a little bit of a difficult fight to get through with the low damage that this party is currently outputting.
I mean, Dancing Dagger here is basically, besides the J items, the highest damage being dealt. This is going to be a slog if Pixel Tamer is going to try to get all the way through. Well, nicely timed ice too. What Pixel Tamer would really be looking for here is a way to deal a high amount of damage when the boss is almost at the refill point in order to skip the second half of it. But ooh, looks like that's not going to happen. There comes the reset.
Yeah, that Rubicant, normally Rubicant, if you're fighting just him, will only counter attacks with Fire 2, but in the Elements spot, he will cycle between Fire 2, Fire 3, and Glare on your party. So that can be kind of difficult at low levels if you get stuck on his form there.
Now, Pixel Tamer's going right back in, no changes. So I think they're going to try to time the high damage a little bit better to kind of decide to push through Rubicon rather than pushing through Mylon. Get to that fashion stage first. Now, Rumblefish is going to go check Dwarf Castle as well, but Rumblefish has the spoon, so as long as Edward can stay alive, it's going to be a pretty short battle.
Yeah, Rumblefish, this is kind of going to be a testament of how routing can make a big play. Rumblefish went to Sylph Cave first, and even though Rumblefish didn't have the pan and was only able to make the one key item check in Sylph Cave, it was the key item that's definitely going to help him for the rest of the rest of this flag set, rest of this seed, get through everything else, because it was that spoon that Edward can equip to to basically get through everything else.
Yeah, we see Rumblefish melting through the HP here, but Kawahi is trying the Mylon Z fight in Land of Summoned Monsters, hoping that the Adamant Rydia will make it through with Bahamut Cast, but it doesn't look like the damage is good coming out, but I don't think he's going to be able to keep the party alive long enough, at least not unless he uses the 2 Moon Veils he's got.
His Edward doesn't have the spoon on, but he must have some good bow and arrow equipped, because that Edward is still putting out some very good damage. A little known fact is that Mylon Z, I believe, has the floating bit on, so he is actually considered a flying monster. That is so spells like Quake will not affect him, but as a result, weapons like bows and arrows do extra damage to him.
Yeah, this game is programmed really uniquely, and when you start digging into the boss and monster characteristics, you find a lot of weird stuff. Kawahi deciding even if that Edward's Moon Veil is going to reset out, it's not worth the time it's going to take. And we can see here just the power of that spoon, because although Pixel Tamer entered the battle well before Rumblefish, Rumblefish is now at the same phase, although Edward is down, so might also have to reset.
Yeah, Rumblefish and Pixel Tamer are both making their way through this Elements fight, and it looks like Kawahi is going right back into that Mylon fight, giving it their all.
The Bahamuts are dealing very decent damage. I didn't see if Kawahi has a stash of Ethers, though, because Rydia is going to run out of MP casting Bahamut pretty quickly here. Meanwhile, Rumblefish is beat up enough, is just spamming Sylph with Adamant Rydia to get through the last phase there, and is passed. Now, just hoping that the next boss fight isn't something really ugly, since the whole party's down and you do not get a heal before the second boss. It is a low HP spot, but also you're missing out on EXP if you leave your characters dead, so...
And we see Kawahi getting through that Mylon Z fight. Looks like up on Rumblefish's screen, we're getting another Edward. So still not sure who the last character is. And the next fight here is going to be Pain Man. That is Dark Knight Cecil.
Oh, that is heartbreaking. Pain Man's attack is also not mitigated by defense in any way, so that adamant did not help. That's a really heartbreaking wipe for Rumblefish there.
That is really, really rough. Even though Pain Man is not doing very much damage there at all, it was still more than what his remaining radio or a level 5 Edward coming into the fight was going to have. Now, Pixel Tamer also just got through that Elements fight, and his characters are slightly higher level. I think all of them are alive, and probably I think they have a little bit more health. Yeah, they're probably going to be much better off getting through this fight.
All you really have to do is have enough time to hide one of the Edwards here. Unfortunately, he's trying to actually attack instead of waiting it out. It's an interesting strategy. Kobahi did get an Excalibur from Mylon Z, which is great if we had a Cecil, and completely useless if we don't.
Yeah, oh, no free bosses is on. Thank you, chat, for pointing that out. So yeah, they have to fight this this Pain Man here. They can't just wait it out like we would normally like to see them do.
That is quite the shame for having that boss blocking both a character and a key item then.
Yeah, absolutely. Kobahi is following Pixel Tamer and Rumblefish into Dwarf Castle. We'll see if he has any more luck getting through these two boss spots.
I think it's interesting here that Kate Sith and Pixel Tamer are both choosing to go up Ordeals first. There is still a check in the underground in the tower, although they don't have the tower key to get the second check. Maybe they're thinking they're not strong enough for that boss, so that would be my guess.
I think that's where Rumblefish is right now. We see Rumblefish fighting Rubicon, not Elements Rubicon, but just Rubicon, and I think he is at the top of the lower Tower of Babel right now.
Yeah, Rumblefish has the damage, I think, to make it through that. I'm not sure if Kate Sith would. I haven't been paying attention to the equipment levels on Kate Sith.
I also don't see the magma key on Kate Sith's side, so he may not have done Baron in yet.
Well, considering the vanilla progression has Mount Ordeals first, meaning the bosses here should be easier than the bosses in Baron Inn. Maybe just trying to get some extra EXP and make sure he's ready.
And we'll see now what this item check at Mount Ordeals is. If this is our crystal, it could have been just sitting here this whole time.
Oh, it's another summon. Leviathan is a good summon, but as most of our runners already have Bahamut, it's just kind of an MP saver if you don't need the damage of Bahamut, basically.
Yeah, even to the point here that we see Kate Sith resetting all the way out, not wanting to take the time to go through the rest of the cutscene and the boss fight that's at the top of Mount Ordeals there to keep it when he already has the Bahamut.
Yeah, and at this point, it's going to be really unlikely that we see Cecil at all, so no need to finish Ordeals. In fact, it's unlikely we're going to see any characters at all now, except for the ones we've already seen.
Yeah, we could still get a character out of Baron Inn. Tower of Zot has a couple of character checks. We'll see if we get another new character. We could just be going with dupes of the ones that we've seen.
Yeah, the only unchecked character spots remaining are, as you said, the Tower of Azat and behind the boss and the Giant, which none of our runners are going to check that. It's too long just to get another character.
Now it looks like Kabahi has an adult Rydia in his party, so it looks like he did get through the Elements and Pain Man in Dwarf Castle. However, I don't see another key item. Or no, I see he's got the pass. It looks like he got the pass from that Dwarf Castle spot.
That's some value for sure. It depends on if Go mode is going to be on the moon or not as well. I mean, if you have to go there and fight the bosses anyways, it's kind of this, that, or the other. Unless you're already down at the bottom of Lunar Subterrane, it's still faster to exit, go back to Earth, and use the pass than it is to walk all the way.
Yeah, and there's just some safety in that as well, since if you're right outside Troya with the pass and you take a wipe to Zeromus, it's a lot quicker to get back into your Z fight as opposed to having to walk from the last save point in the Lunar Subterrane. Rumblefish. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we do have quite a few players here tonight. Looks like 16 players racing. Just a reminder that the 4 on screen are just the ones that were chosen to be featured. And none of these players are slouches. So I think our players are going to feel the pressure to go to Zeromus very quickly once they have go mode, rather than achieving the quote unquote safe level. So Zeromus is going to be risky, I think.
Yeah, and especially with this party, going to be risky because this is, like we've said, a low hit point party. None of these characters are going to have the 21 or 2200 hit point levels that is safe before a full powered Big Bang at level 50, which is kind of when you want to start considering going to Zeromus. Rumblefish finally getting through that Rubicon fight, a very nicely done fight. Took a little while, but he handled that very well. Unfortunately, only getting a light sword for his trouble. It's a very good weapon for Cecil if we had a Cecil, but probably not. Maybe just going to be selling it at this point, especially if he's already picked up a crystal sword.
It's looking more and more likely that progression is behind moon bosses, summon bosses, or yeah, we're running out of spots here that aren't hard boss spots.
Yeah, for sure. It might behoove them to do a moon grind on something like the Gold Dragon fight with Sirens, and then start taking on moon bosses at this point. In fact, it looks like that may be what Kabahi is doing. He's on the moon right now. We'll see if he's just checking the character up here, or if he's planning on doing some moon boss checks.
Yeah, I mean, the moon is an absolutely good play right here. Mathematically, it's the most amount of key item locations remaining for any single spot. So coming down here to fight these bosses is mathematically smart. It's also going to be able to allow our players to deal, kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because they can do some grind fights on their way to these boss spots. Just 2 rooms outside the bottom save point, you can get gold dragons, and that way if you mess it up, you're still right there. They have hourglasses, they have sirens, they have everything they need to get it done. So I can imagine a lot of them, now that they've exhausted some of the other spots, to come up here, hit a few gold dragons to be able to make sure they're going to not wipe to the moon bosses, and then try to clear the moon as fast as possible.
Tifa's Revenge pointing out that the JS flag is on, meaning that that's for Japanese spells. That means that typically characters are going to be learning spells at a higher level, especially for Rydia. That means that she's going to learn spells higher than she would without that JS flag on. In particular, she's not going to learn Nuke until a higher level. And Rydia in particular has a very slow level progression. So if our runners are going to want to see the most powerful spells on Rydia, they have a lot of grinding to do. Now, they are going to get some of that just naturally by fighting moon bosses in here, but they're probably not going to get all the way to Nuke just by fighting the boss spots in here.
Yeah, and it does think, I do believe that most of our runners will be trying to use reflex strats, so they're going to want Nuke for sure in order to maximize their damage output. With Edward being the only real viable Berserk target here, if they find the spoon, it's not going to melt their Zeromus. You can do it, but reflex strats will be the faster option out of the two major Zeromus strategies in this case.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with multiple Rydias and multiple Porums available, and Reflex Strats allowing you to skip that refill on Zeromus, the HP refill. Yeah, it's going to be a longer grind, but a faster and safer Z fight in the end.
Yeah, and to be honest, getting Nuke on Rydia and White on Porum, they were probably going to want those levels for the HP gain anyways, so at least I think most of our runners were going to get to those levels to begin with. Kobahi's doing exactly as we predicted here, just getting some King Ryus out of the way, gold dragons in other translations. Has been smart, knows there's no life glitch, didn't even try.
Yeah, still going to get a lot of XP from this fight. The gold dragons are one of the most popular grind fights that's available. They can be sirened, summoned with the sirens right here. Right now, without the 10 key items, not giving as much XP as they could, but still going to be a lot of XP so that he can at least start to do some of these moon bosses and start clearing out this lunar subterrane.
Yeah, and with 5 characters, there's no danger of dying. They are going to get 2 attacks off even after you hourglass them because their actions are already queued, but it's fine. Just revive the characters you need and continue on. Spoon Edward is really putting in some work here for these players who have acquired him.
Katesith is in the Painman fight and managed to get his Edward hidden, but I think did not realize or remember that the no free boss bit was on, which is definitely a flag that can kind of creep up on players when they least expect it, and is taking an unfortunate reset there. And it looks like, did he forget? It looks like he forgot to save after getting the magma key. So that is rather unfortunate since he's going all the way back now to Baron and having to fight Odin and Bahamut again to get that magma key.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate wipe, but I mean, I can see it happening because all of our most popular flag sets that players use in the community almost always have the free bosses on for this reason, because it's really annoying to play a fight where, you know, like some boss like Water Hag or Dark Knight Cecil, which is usually very easy but can become very difficult under the right circumstances, aren't cheesy.
Yeah, it won't take him very long to get back through these fights. It's just unfortunate that exactly what you said. You know, one little slip there and it sets you back several minutes. Over on Kobahi's screen, it looks like he's found Mylon in the Ghasts. This is in the Lunar D spot. This probably is not going to be too much trouble. Looks like he got through those ghasts very quickly with a Bahamut summon, and Mylon is only doing a single point of damage with his Lit 1 counterattack.
Yeah, that's a bonus of the adamant armor there on that bottom Rydia is you get increased stats, you get virtual immunity to the main elemental damages, and basically better everything. It's just better in all ways.
Pixel Tamer is back in his Painman fight. Hopefully, he will have better luck this time getting through that fight.
Yeah, I am actually really surprised that more of our players didn't do a larger mini grind when they got underground. I know it does suck knowing you could be getting double experience later, but with this party, I mean, it would have been, it's very tempting to me at least. But like I said, they may also be feeling the pressure by the names involved in this race and thinking they really have to play a little risky to stay out ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking that there may just be some, some free bosses or free something that they can get somewhere else, just, trying to get as much done as quickly as they possibly can. It looks like Kobahi, he got the Luca key from one of those ribbon chests behind Mylon and the Ghasts.
Luca Key is a sealed cave is opened by Luca Key, and it's probably after Ordeals the second least favorite key item check of players, just because the dungeon is very long. The only good thing about it is you can peek at what the item is before you have to fight the boss, so you can save scum it. But if it happens to be an item you need, then you're just stuck.
Yeah, and even just peeking it, you can peek it, but it still takes a couple of minutes to get down into the bottom of the cave. Even if you can reset out of it, you still have to walk down there. Kobahi has found the Baron Guards here. This is in the Plague / White Spear spot. This is the exact same boss in the same spot that we saw in Saturday night's 2v2 race, except in that race it was free. They were able to hourglass and coffin these guys. Not so much now that we're seeing the no free boss bit on, so now we're seeing them, our runners are going to have to just take these guys down the old-fashioned way using Bahamuts and spoons.
Oh yeah, this boss is very annoying without the boss bit on, because usually they can be cheesed in a variety of ways. You can piggy them, mini them, frog them, stop them, but without that, they start casting status effects on you, and it can be annoying. But Kobahi has the damage to get through it pretty quickly before any of that happens.
Gets a defense sword for his trouble. Yet another good item for Cecil or Kane, if we find one of them.
Yeah, and we got to think it's not too disappointing for these players to not find key items here, because they have to get experience somehow anyways. Now, these bosses are not the most efficient way to gain experience, but if you have to fight them to get the checks anyways, it's pretty nice that at least you have to do less grind fights once you've wasted the time.
Speaking of grind fights, it looks like maybe Pixel Tamer heard you and is deciding to do a few more of those eggs before attempting to go back and either do those Dwarf Castle bosses or anything else that may come up after him.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty viable strategy. It just means that you're going to spend a little bit of extra time now, so you're not banging your head against bosses later, especially knowing that the moon checks and those kind of nasty summon monster checks are still out there.
Kobahi has ventured onward to the Ogopogo spot in the Lunar Core and has found Wyvern. We do have the Witchburn flag on, which replaces Wyvern's opening mega nuke with a random other attack. And tonight it happens to be the toad spell. And it looks like he did hit Kobahi's 2 Iridias with that toad. The rest of Wyvern's attack script is the same, so now he's going to cast Wall on himself and continue to bounce nukes off of himself onto your party for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, the good thing is that we've got enough speed now. Wyvern's only going to get 1 turn for all the party turns, so life spells / potions can come out in time. Just keep going. Not really a threat now unless you miss menu.
It also looks like one of Kobahi's Iridias has a Dragon Whip equipped, and that's doing quite a bit of damage against that dragon-type monster.
Yeah, heck, the game never tells you this, but there's racial damage bonuses in this game. It's pretty neat. And Wyvern's a dragon, despite the fact that Bahamut, who is the palette swap of Wyvern, is not a dragon.
Neither is Mist Dragon, even though that's also supposedly a dragon. Or looks like a dragon.
I call false advertising.
Yeah, it looks like Kobahi was able to get through that Wyvern fight without too much trouble and gets an Earth Crystal for his trouble.
Ooh, heck, okay. So this busted it open a little bit. This is an extra key item check that no one else has access to yet, and there's 2 characters there.
Yeah, and we'll see. He's warping. He may just be going back to do the rest of the lunar subterranean bosses. Yeah, it looks like he's walking toward the Wyvern spot, the Crystal Sword spot, which is a little bit further into the lunar subterranean here before he decides to go follow up on that Earth Crystal.
Yeah, this is a good play. And I mean, this is where, once again, your decision-making has to come into play. How many key items are remaining? What are the chances that Earth Crystal will have what I need? How many do I have up here? And how bad will I feel if I went straight to Earth Crystal and skipped this boss before I went, and this boss is something I need? So you start having to talk yourself into certain decisions depending on what your situation is.
Yeah, it's very common for runners to completely clear out Moon once they're up here, even if they do find a key item like Earth Crystal or that Luca key that's going to lead them into the sealed cave, because if any of those are a bust, then they're just going to have to come right back up here and continue clearing out the rest of the lunar subterranean. So a lot of times you are going to see them clear out the lunar subterranean and even Cave Bahamut first before going back down to the Earth, or the blue planet, rather.
Yeah, I mean, if Kobahi had done top down instead and found this at the top, he might have gone straight for Earth Crystal. But with the fact that Wyvern, which is the longest boss to get to in Lunar Subterranean, is what's remaining, I don't think he wants to basically risk having to come all the way to the middle of Lunar Subterranean again, basically.
It looks like Rumblefish and Pixel Tamer have both been successful in getting through their Elements and Painman fights and have been rewarded with the pass for their trouble.
Ooh, and Kobahi getting the Twin Harp as well. So we got a double dip in Troya now. We got Cave Magnus and the Tower of Zot, which we can check both now. So Kobahi's definitely rewarded by sticking it out in Lunar Subterranean and is now going to go check those 2. These are going to be very easy checks at this point for his party as well.
Yeah, we see him exiting out immediately. We'll see if he decides, he's using a cabin, so we'll see if he decides to go back down to the blue planet. He does have, I think, one more check in the lunar subterranean. That's the Pale Dim spot. Yeah, it looks like he's going back in and he's going to check that Pale Dim spot. That's one that's kind of off to the side near the front of the lunar subterranean. So he's probably going to check that first before following up on anything else.
And none of our runners have checked Cave Bahamut yet either, which also has a key item on these flags. You know, they some people say there's always value in Cave Bahamut.
Very, very true. Yeah, I don't think anybody's even checked the boss there. Not that we have free bosses on, but some bosses are definitely easier than others. So there could certainly be something there as well.
A very welcome addition to the moon bosses here for Kobahi. Calbrena is exactly the type of boss you want to see. Can deal AoE damage to it. The only problem is you're probably going to have a hard time stopping it from combining unless you really track your damage closely on the rear dolls. It will combine once you kill all the dolls of one color, if there's any dolls remaining when they get their turn. And usually that is taken care of because the back dolls don't usually have the boss bit and you can hourglass them so they'll never combine. But that's not the case here. But no problem for Kobahi. Their split HP means they can be taken out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that Bahamut on anything that's got split HP like that is going to make pretty quick work of them. Looks like he's getting the Sand Ruby, so that's going to be another character check. I don't know, has anybody checked the bed in Kaipo?
We can pretty much expect that Sand Ruby will not be checked.
With his party, probably not, but it is another character check in case anybody else gets it. We may still see that fifth character. Chad is saying that it looks like it was probably another Porum in the Kaipo bed. Or Kane? We're getting a couple of different conflicting answers. I actually didn't see, so we'll see if anybody gets that that Sand Ruby and does decide to go make that check.
All right, it's time to see if Kobahi will be rewarded here. Luckily, we weren't cruel enough to put the forced Bahamut spot battles on here, which are normally in Cave Bahamut, so get to dodge those. And then, yeah, Vavalis in Cave Bahamut. Not what you want to see. No Kane available.
Peasants in chat is asking if anyone has done Keyless Tower. And yes, Rumblefish did. It was a Rubicon at the end. And yes, it was a light sword up at the top. So no key item for that top of Tower of Babel check.
Now, that being said, it looks like Valvalis is able to be hit by magic at this spot. So although it's going to be a slog, Kobahi should be able to get through. This spot doesn't have as much HP as some of the other moon bosses, and Valvalis actually doesn't hit you with actual physical damage very often, which is the only thing that can kill you. Otherwise, she just weaks people and tries to petrify them. Unless you, of course, get her out of her spin, which we can't do because there's no Kane.
Yeah, between the Bahamuts and the Edward with the spoon, probably won't have too much trouble with this spot, but Valvalis can definitely be trolly in other spots without a cane available to knock her out of that spin.
Yeah, and Kobahi has helped here as well by the fact that he's fought a bunch of moon bosses already. If he'd come in here beforehand, it's very possible his spells would have been missing Valvalis instead. Well, oh baby, we got the pan. So time to check Yang again as well, maybe.
Yeah, Kobahi has got all sorts of checks that he can make now by returning down to the blue planet. So he actually has some decisions to make. We'll see where he decides to go to first. Meanwhile, we see both Kate Sith and Pixel Tamer down in the land of the summoned monsters. We'll see if either of them decide to try to take on either of the bosses down here, neither of which have been checked. And then Rumblefish is also up on the moon making the lunar subterrane bosses check. He's currently on the Mylan and the Ghasts fight, which is at the lunar D spot.
Also good to note, Kobahi has a lot of checks now with these key items in tow. He's also at 9 key items, so the next one's going to get him double experience as well.
Looks like Kobahi is opting to go down into Self Cave to hit Yang with the pan. This is a good play since it is free. There's no bosses that you have to fight to do this. It's a pretty quick check, and there's 2 potential key item checks that you can make. One from the Sylphs right away here, and then one from Sheila once you go turn that pan back into her Infibool.
The Sylph's handing over another Bahamut summon, and so we'll see what Sheila's got.
Based on how he decided to exit out on the damage tile there, I'm guessing he's planning on doing Harp next, the Twin Harp next.
Yeah, that is an allusion to the fact that the first Dark Elf fight, the one that's not actually randomized because it's a set battle in Magnus Cave, ends when your party's all in critical HP. So if you go in deliberately at critical, you can make the fight end immediately, even if you don't have metal equipment equipped.
Yeah, nice play by Kobahi, kind of forcing that skip there. Looks like he got the Legend Sword from Sheila 2 there. And Pixel Tamer did get through that Mylon Z fight and got an Excalibur. I was trying not to get the 2 swords confused. It was a Legend Sword on the bottom and an Excalibur on the top.
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be Cave Magnus. So very nice optimization by Kobahi, gotta say. You may be asking, why was the damage tile important? Well, when you exit on a damage tile, the animation of your character spinning is actually being done in the game as well. So you actually continually take damage tile damage as that's happening. So it's pretty much guaranteed to get all your characters down to 1 HP.
Looks like Pixel Tamer is going to attempt this Kanyatsu fight. We talked about this earlier, about how he's going to use that wave attack that's based on the boss's HP. Looks like he did stock up on Thor Rages, which is a J item that does lit 1, and any kind of lit attack like those J items or any kind of lightning spell is going to knock Kinyatsu out of that wave, but unfortunately the timing is really critical on when to use those spells or items. So we'll see if he can get that timing down right for this fight.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's not a big window, and even if you get the lit off and get the wave dispelled, if Kanazo has already queued up the wave attack, it still happens. It doesn't change his phase or clear his queue or anything. So it hurts because you know you were just barely too slow when that happens. We are almost ready for the fan favorite on Kobahi's screen. If we could get audio there, we can see what music is tonight.
Is that a
nice.
vanilla dark elf?
Is this even randomized? No, it seems like the Final Fantasy VII boss theme was really great there rendition. Thanks to Kobahi for going to the music and letting us see it / hear it.
Oh, and there's our crystal being found behind music. So music is going to be required.
Kobahi showing off the credits on that music for us, and there's the crystal, meaning moon bosses were required and music required. Kobahi getting right the heck out of there, gonna get the levels needed and then go for it.
And he does have the pass, and he's right next to Troya. I'm not sure what his levels are like right now. Haven't seen his menu recently, so we'll see if there's anything that he's going to have to do to prep for this fight before going right into the Z fight.
Has already bought plenty of sirens, has 10 key items. It's going to be a short grind if he's got one.
Looks like Pixel Tamer did get through that Kanyatsu fight very nicely done and was rewarded with the hook for his trouble.
Rest in peace. Hashtag the dream. Miss Dragon in Babel. Not necessary.
Yeah, but crystal behind music is like always the dream for everybody. Who doesn't want to hear music 4 times?
This is the real talk right there. That's the truth.
Looks like Kobahi is going to do a little bit of a grind, going down to the underground to scramble some eggs before going into that final Z fight.
Yeah, looking like levels in the low to mid 40s here. Like we said, for HP levels and for spell availability, going to be looking for mid 50s, so needs quite a few eggs.
Rumblefish, meanwhile, doing some grinding up on the moon, making nice use of Rudia's Odin, which we don't get to see too often. Since the life glitch is not available, there's no need to kill one of the dragons, life glitch it, and then kill the other. So opting to just Odin both of them together and kill them both together there.
Yeah, taking care of those dragons with Odin. It's a great summon, and it's just in the vanilla game you don't use it very often because the bosses are immune, and it does cost quite a bit of mana, and it can still miss. So
yeah, it has limited use, but when it can be used, it can be very handy. Now we see Rumblefish going back down to the blue planet and going underground. Looks like he's picking up more Sirens and Tamara. I wonder if that's all he came back down here for. He does have the Luca key, so I'm wondering if he's going to go ahead and make that check right away while he's down here, or if he just came back down here to restock.
Rumblefish about to save Scum that sealed cave, opening the door and then going back outside just to make sure the cutscene being played already is saved.
Pixel Tamer and Kate Sith are both at the top of Lower Babel in the middle of that Rubicon fight. We know that all that's going to lead to is a light sword, unfortunately.
Yeah, and this just goes to show how important what decisions you make after you make discoveries and what pathing you decide to go can matter in this randomizer. Because at the beginning of this race, it looked like Rumblefish was very solidly in the lead. He was the first one to get the spoon and was using it to mow down bosses faster than everyone else. But now it's Kobahi is ready to go and well ahead of the level game. So it just you can make very good decisions and still come out not on top.
Yeah, I mean, rando is going to rando. You can play really well and still not come out on top, and it's not a matter of how good or bad of a player you are. It's just a matter of where are the key items going to be tonight.
Rumblefish sees that tower key here. I don't think he can't risk passing it up because he doesn't know what it's going to give him. So it looks like we're going to get to see this boss.
Yeah, for sure. If this was another non-key item or even something that didn't lead to something like the adamant in this case, he could probably just reset out of this without consequence. But that tower key, we know that it's not going to lead to where he wants to go, but he doesn't know that, so he can't risk leaving that behind.
There's that vanilla evil wall, and actually, while we were talking about pathing here, speaking of that, Wuber has finished in first place with a time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 41 seconds. GG to Wuber. As I said, we have many other players playing off screen here, but that's a pretty good play as far as what we've seen available so far.
Yeah, definitely. GG to Wuber for coming in first. Kobahi's hit points levels are looking pretty solid. His Edward is a little bit low. Edward's got probably the worst hit point growth of all of these characters. I think his Rydia looks like is high enough to have learned Nuke by now. So yeah, it looks like he's just doing some last minute checking on probably agility and such now. So we'll see. He may be just about ready to go into his Z fight.
Yeah, with reflex strats, usually we try to defeat Zeromus before you have to take too many big bangs. And also, there's always the option to try to nerf one while you're at it. So we'll see what Kobahi's strategy is going to be, but you're right, he is heading up to Troya now.
Rumblefish got through that evil wall fight, is able to keep that tower key, and is going to be making his way back out through the sealed cave now. Sealed cave cannot be exited out of, but you can warp out through it. Warp lets you go up one level at a time, so it's not as fast as exiting, but it is faster than just walking out, especially through some of these bigger rooms that are kind of twisty and turny and that would require you to, take several seconds to walk through.
That's right. And now for our fans' second favorite thing of the night, after music. Would you like to do the honors, Maggie?
So, chat, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? I see that we are joined in chat by Scala Kitty. Scala Kitty has designed many of the sprites that are seen for the Zeromus sprite in our randomizer. So we're just about to be revealed tonight on Kobahi's screen which Z sprite we're going to see tonight.
His true colors emerged. Oh, hey, that is a beautiful sprite. I have no clue what it's from, but it is gorgeous.
Cloud of Darkness, I believe, is that Final Fantasy III? Yes, looks like Chad is confirming. This is, I think, is the final boss of Final Fantasy III. So once again, Scala Kitty designs many of these sprites. Very beautiful job that she does designing these sprites for us. As long as the Z sprite is on any of these flag sets, the Zeromus sprite can be randomized. It's, if not the biggest Easter egg, maybe the second biggest Easter egg after the Edward song in Magnus Cave for our randomizer.
Now, as we kind of alluded to earlier in the match, this is what we call reflex strats. There's two basic ways to fight Zeromus. The first is using Berserk on your heavy-hitting physical characters to basically just outspeed and outperform Zeromus, kind of clogging the ATB queue so he doesn't get very many actions. And the second is to use spellcasters and bounce spells off of a designated reflect party member and hitting Zeromus like this. You have to do it with Reflect because Zeromus will counterattack any direct magic attacks upon him with a nasty nuke counterattack, which at these HP levels, a character can't take a nuke and then also survive a big bang. So we don't want that to happen, or at least if it happens, we want it to maybe happen to our character who's reflected so that nuke goes back and hits Zeromus as well.
The other reason that we see the reflect strats is because Zeromus actually has an HP refill, which is actually a counterattack. So if you attack him directly, he will counterattack with an HP refill. But if you do the reflect strats, he won't refill his hit points. So you're effectively only having to take off half of his hit points by doing these refill strats, or these reflect strats. And with that, we do see the flash, and we see Kobahi finishing up his Z fight, and Kobahi comes in second place with a final time of 1 hour, 20 minutes, and 46 seconds.
Yeah, we saw how quick that fight was. I mean, it happens very quickly with reflex strats, especially with like an over-leveled party like this. And it looks like we are joined now by Kobahi. Kobahi, what did you think of that scene?
It was pretty interesting. I mean, obviously it gave us a lowdown machine to start, but with the T3 flag on, finding a few usable items took care of that, and then finding Bahamut and Rydia took care of the rest pretty much.
Yeah, GG on your finish. I thought you did a very nice job of clearing out all of the moon and then going back and prioritizing your checks back on the blue planet once you got back down there.
Yeah, like I went to the moon basically once I got the spoon. There's a couple more checks I could have done, but with a spoon and an adamant armor, I was like, yeah, I can clear everything out up here. And then going back is just the fastest checks for single items, as we just knew the quick.
Yeah, what was your strategy when you first got underground? Like, what made you make those routing decisions down there?
The main things I was just checking shops initially. I grabbed a couple levels immediately with the party, so that if I went down and there was an easy boss like Mylon Z, once I berserked after and didn't use the reflect, was pretty easy. But beyond that, it's just like the free checks and shop checks to see what I have to work with.
Did you have any trouble with the Painman fight after the elements at Dwarf Castle? I think you got through that on your first try, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the time I remembered that the no free bosses is on, so I was just throwing out QO2s with my paladins and then got damage off. I completely forgot on Mylon on the moon when I tried using Hourglass on him, though.
I did notice that, yeah, and the Pain Man fight got a couple other people too, so that's what I was wondering. I thought you had gotten through that one pretty quickly, so good job not getting trolled by him there, because that fight got a couple of other people.
Yeah, luckily I remember that, I had to deal with him, not just let him wave me over and over.
What did you think was your best decision of this round, Kabahi?
I guess the early looting, because there's a lot of people that might skip things like Mist Village, which got me the Bahamut summon. And then I tried Mega Sisters a couple times because I really wanted the Iridia, but I just couldn't get through it, so I just abandoned to go to like Antlion Cave, which got me that Adamant Arbor, which took care of everything from there. But especially with like a low damage team of Edward and Porm, low damage, low health, a little bit of extra looting to kind of guarantee your safety early really helps.
Very nice. Well, anything else you want to share with us about the seed?
Nothing really. I forgot that the J flags are on too, so I was grinding for nuke and realizing I had to go to 55 instead of a normal level.
Yeah, somebody else pointed that out in chat kind of midway through the seed, that Iridia was going to have to overlevel. But it, it was good for the hit points too, because as you mentioned, this was a very low hit point party, so probably didn't hurt just to have the extra hit points as well.
Yeah, I have considered picking up Kane with the Sand Ruby, because I had an Avenger and like a Gunyo Spear or a Rune Axe to use with him, and using one melee Iridia, Spoon Edward, and Kane as a Berserk Bodhi, but I also didn't have Bacchus Wine, so I ended up going Nuke route.
Okay, so it was Kane. We were trying to figure out who that last character in Kaipo was, and there were a few different people in chat throwing out names, and we didn't see who it was, so it was Kane sitting in the Kaipo bed.
That is correct.
Okay, good to know. Nobody else has picked him up yet, so that's why we were trying to figure that out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision there, because we did see you absolutely melted through Zeromus. We were actually still explaining the fight when you got your flash, so.
Yeah, the reflex strats, if done properly, are quite fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I was explaining the hit point refill skip when you got the flash, and that's definitely a bonus benefit of the reflex strats, is basically not having to do the extra half again amount of damage to Zeromus to get that flash.
Well, thank you for coming in, Kobahi. Congratulations again on your second place finish, and have a good one. It was good to see you running tonight.
Yes, thanks for doing commentary, Couch for tracking, Smokey for doing restream.
And thanks for letting us watch your restream. Great run tonight.
Yes.
And while we were talking with Kobahi, we did have a third place finish. Zilch came in third with a time of 1 hour, 21 minutes, and 37 seconds, right behind Kobahi.
Yeah, GG to Zilch. It's looking like the kind of top end here of people who went a more direct route has been hit, because we have had kind of a lull in finishes. So it seems that everyone else off screen is still trying to hunt down the correct path. And there are a lot of pitfalls for people to go through. I mean, there's boss spots that are useless. There are summon monster boss spots that are useless. And of course, there are checks back on Earth that are useless even once you've checked the full moon out. So a lot of rabbit holes to follow for some of our runners. I'm interested to see if anyone off screen went to Zot.
Meanwhile, it looks like Kateseth is in the Wyvern fight, and an interesting strat there. Wyvern will counter summons with a Mega Nuke, but Kateseth had walled his entire party before using a summon on Wyvern, and so that Mega Nuke just bounced right off and Mega Nuked Wyvern instead. So that's an interesting strat if you don't have any other reliable way of doing damage to get Wyvern to kind of kill himself.
Yeah, sometimes it's some of these, what should I say? The foresight of the developers combined with the weird way they program bosses is sometimes hard to fathom, because they have counters built into a lot of bosses for some very specific scenarios, yet sometimes the bosses aren't programmed right at the same time. So it's kind of just a weird situation Final Fantasy IV finds itself in. Pixel Tamer fighting that Moon Octomammon, which should, well, I didn't see which way Pixel Tamer was going, top down or bottom up. If going top down, this is the first one, but if going bottom up, this is the last check. So we'll see.
Yeah, it looks like all of the rest of our runners are on the moon now doing these moon checks, so they are all on the right track. Doesn't look like any of them have gotten that Twin Harp yet, but they'll find it eventually, and then we'll be hearing some more music and getting some more crystals pretty quickly here, I imagine.
Yeah, and this is where we'll also see how patient or impatient some of our runners are, because depending on the order they do the bosses here, they could get the Earth Crystal first and go chase that before finishing the moon. And that would be a mistake at this point.
Yeah, or even if they full clear moon and get all of those key items, you know, there's a lot of key items up here. So they could do Earth Crystal, they could do that Luca Cave, that sealed cave. You know, there's several different places that they can go once they clear all of this out.
Yeah, so although they're all on the right track now, there's still some trip-ups waiting to happen.
Well, while we are seeing all of our runners kind of converge on the moon here, let's do a shout out to everyone who makes these wonderful races happen. We've got our Restream team tonight is Smapety on Restream and Couch23 doing tracking. Also my co-commentator, Jay Monimotos. Also want to thank Natara tonight for setting up the Monday night races. Without these wonderful people, we wouldn't be able to have our community races. So thank you all so much for making these happen. And of course, thank you to our restreamed runners for allowing us to watch you be restreamed. Make sure to give all of these great people a follow. We have a wonderful community here, and all of them deserve you know, a follow and a thanks for letting us make these great races happen.
Yeah, and not to get too 1980s cartoon on you, but you all also make it happen, both the viewers and the members of the community and the runners. We did recently run surveys to figure out what times were good for the community races, which resulted in our Wednesday doubles being moved to Saturday, and new times for both the Monday night races and the Friday night races. So tonight being at this time is due to your input, and those surveys are still open. They're going to remain consistently open so that we can change track depending on what people need across time. So if you haven't taken them, find them in the pinned links in the Free Enterprise Discord. And that way you can give your input, and maybe you'll get to run if in a race that maybe right now is pretty inconvenient for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if maybe you've been watching these races or kind of lurking here in our Twitch channel or on our Discord channel, definitely feel free to come out and race with us. join our Discord if you haven't already. We, would love to see you. It's a great community. Come ask some questions. Come join us. Are very welcoming, very friendly, user-friendly, and newbie-friendly community. So come out and join us in the Discord and in these races if you haven't already.
Yeah, not only do we legitimately have one of the best communities in speed gaming, in my opinion, this randomizer is also very, very easy to learn. Your FF4 knowledge base does not have to be very deep to start out. And because of the ability to customize the gameplay through the flag settings, you can really start off easy and ease yourself into harder settings as you get better at the game.
Yeah, and our community is full of experienced members who are more than welcome, or more than happy to welcome the newer players in and help you guys out. So if anybody is wanting to get into this and maybe is a little bit lost or needs a little bit of help, come out and join us and ask some questions. Try out a few. This flag set is not too hard, kind of midway through, but there's definitely easier flag sets out than this too that don't restrict where you find characters, how many characters you can get, have quite so many key item check spots that you need to check, things like that. So come out and join us. Try a few different seeds and flag sets. See if you like the rando, and then maybe try racing it after you've tried a few different flags.
Yeah, and while we were giving shout-outs, it seems like Wave 2 has completed. Kedril finished in 4th place with a time of 1 hour, 32 minutes, 52 seconds. Flurry 14 in 5th place with a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 19 seconds. And Poydrak in 6th place with a time of 1 hour, 34 minutes, and 21 seconds. They're right around each other. GG's to those three.
Absolutely. They all finished right behind each other there. And now we are seeing Kateseth going back down to the blue planet. It looks like he has finished clearing out all the bosses up on the moon, has gotten all the key items up there. So we'll see what checks he decides to make first now that he is back on the planet.
Going for the music, so this is the correct choice.
Sometimes runners like to just go for the music just because it is the crowd choice. I know I personally like to do that a lot of times. So it could just be that either Kateseth himself wants to hear the music or he's doing it for the viewer's choice. Either way, we know that this is the right choice. So we're going to hear some beautiful, beautiful harp music, and then we're going to see some beautiful, beautiful crystal and some beautiful cloud of darkness pretty soon here.
Yeah, knowing you're on the restream and the fans are watching can change the way you play the game, of course. And also seeing these .duns in the race chat is going to change players' choices as well, especially seeing like the early wave. That's going to tell players kind of basically was the play somewhere risky or not risky? Because the more players that finish fast means that pretty much the standard order of doing things is the way to go. But if you're seeing like maybe one player finish and then nobody else, it usually means they took a risky or kind of atypical play, and you might start checking stuff you wouldn't normally check right away. Round 2 of music coming up. Oh, the Dark Elf changed.
Dark Dragon, again, is another boss that normally can be cheesed with hourglasses. You can cast Weak on it, but with the no free boss bit on, all of that is not an option. Again, at these levels, it's not really a problem for our runners. We saw Bahamut just kind of melt through that Dark Dragon. But if anybody had come here a little bit earlier, or if that Twin Harp had been in an earlier spot, that maybe could have been a little bit of a problem for them.
Now, just like before, I did not see Kate's levels, haven't looked at the HP in a bit. So we'll see how much grinding needs to be done here.
Yeah, their hit points in the Dark Elf fight did not look very high, so probably going to have to do some grinding here. Didn't look like Riddy had nuke yet, at least, so looks like Kate Sith is going to the egg scrambling spot to do some grinding here. Something else that we can shout out about while the rest of our runners are finishing up on the moon and Kate Seth is doing a grind here is the upcoming Highway to the Zeromus Zone League. This is a league that is coming up. I think we have a command in the chat. Let me see if I can get it up here. I thought we had a command. Maybe. Oh, there it is. Yes. Okay. So there is more information and rules on the links that are up in the chat now. It's all up on our Discord, but it's going to be a league. The qualifiers start in July, so in just a couple of weeks. It's the second of the leagues that we've had now. We had a league last year. And it's going to be a lot of fun to participate and a lot of fun to watch. I highly recommend you check out the information, the rules, the links that are up here in the chat and the Discord if you are interested. Definitely watch it if you are not interested in playing it, but definitely consider playing in it because it's going to be a lot of fun. There's just one set of flags that is going to be used, so you can practice that flag set if you're interested. And come on out and join us.
Yeah, unlike our last event, which was the World Series of Free Enterprise, that event used kind of niche specialty flag sets so that we basically created specialists in the community who were good at certain flag sets. But this one is more straightforward. It's the same flag set. It's very similar to the flag set used in last year's Highway to the Zeromus Zone, which is where we gained a whole lot of new players. So it will prove to be a very good tournament. I was just anyone who knows they can make the qualifiers to come out, try to get in, and try to show off. I mean, it's going to be a big event for the community. And meanwhile, while we were plugging that, Chokoshura has also finished in 7th place with a time of 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 9 seconds. GG, Chokoshura.
Yeah, GG to all of our runners who have finished so far. Looks like Rumblefish has gotten that Twin Harp, but is finishing up the rest of the lunar bosses before going back down to Earth. Again, this is a pretty common play that we see. If there is another key item up on the moon, Rumblefish doesn't know if the Twin Harp is going to lead to where they need to go, or if that Earth crystal that is at the Ogopogo spot is going to lead to the crystal. So better to clear everything up here before going back down to Earth instead of having to go back and forth and have to watch that cutscene from the lunar whale multiple times.
Yeah, players do like to avoid those double dips. They like to avoid double dipping Lunar Subterrane, double dipping Sylph Cave, double dipping Lower Tower, and it's just nice when you don't have to. And you never have to double dip Lunar Subterrane, so it's just one of those things where most players are definitely going to prefer to full clear it once they're down there.
Pixel Tamer now picking up the Twin Harp as well and exiting out. Not sure if they have done the Pale Dim spot yet or not, so they may be done already and ready to head back down to the blue planet. Yeah, looks like they are.
Kate Sith creeping up, almost there. Looks like needs maybe 5 or 6 more levels.
Yeah, again, this Rydia with the J spells on needs higher levels and needs more XP 2 level, so takes quite a while to get up to those nuke ready levels with this flag set on. But once she does, especially with the items, like I see a sorceress robe, I see a charm rod, she's going to be doing just an absolute ton of damage. Putting an adamant armor on her, she's going to be doing a ton of damage against that Zeromus. Looking like Kate Sith is probably going to be going with the same reflex strats that Kobahi did, so he's going to be melting through that Zeromus once he gets to that Z fight.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Pixel Tamer going for Sealed Cave.
Yeah, this is unfortunate because this is a rabbit hole that we know is going to spiral way far down that is not going to lead to anything, because this leads to the tower key, which I don't remember if the tower key led to anything, but we know it doesn't lead to the crystal.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody actually checked tower key. Or if they did, I missed it. But this is the part of every 4-way race of Free Enterprise that is always a little heartbreaking, because we have so much more knowledge than the players do now. And you just watch them going the wrong way, and they just don't know. It hurts. It hurts a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Our tracker Couch23 confirming that tower key was checked by someone on screen, but that it was... it didn't lead to anything. Looks like it was an Ogopogo as the boss, but it didn't lead to anything, no key items or anything like that.
Yeah, that's a big ouch on that, especially if they've already dove tower once already. Meanwhile, Salty Fry has finished in 8th place with a time of 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 47 seconds. So we're officially in the second half of our competing runners tonight.
GG to Salty Fry.
The tower key is also a faster check than Cave Magnus 2, so I can definitely see Pixel going there first and checking it.
Yeah, while Cave Magnus is a fan favorite and a viewer favorite because of the music, it's not a fast check. It is kind of a long dungeon, and it's got the cutscenes involved, so it's not usually anybody's first or favorite check when they're going for time and efficiency.
Oh, Kate Sith is going to show us some more advanced strats here than we've seen on stream yet. Actually went back to Mysidia. We have the rescue flag on in this flag set, meaning you can go to the Crystal Room in Mysidia and regain characters that you've dismissed already. Kate Sith did this to get a low-level Edward. That's on purpose because he knows Edward isn't going to be contributing anyways, and the low level is going to be used to do what we call agility anchoring on Zeromus. Basically, agility in this game for enemies is determined by the character in your center slot. It's also speed determined for your party as well. So by putting a very slow character in the middle, you ensure Zeromus gets less turns and your other party members get more turns.
Yeah, this is not a bad play at all. Like you said, since he's going to be going for those reflect strats, and even an Edward with a spoon is not going to be contributing, because if Edward does hit Zeromus and triggers that HP refill, it kind of negates the whole point of the reflect strats. So trading his leveled Edward out for a low-level Edward is going to be able to kind of lower Zeromus's overall speed and kind of in a sense, increase his party's speed, or at least increase how many turns his party is going to get compared to how many turns Zeromus gets.
Yeah, mage characters tend to be on the slower side than the melee damage dealers. So it's not as effective as a strategy during reflex strats than when using berserk strats, where it really shines. But still, it could be the difference between you seeing one big bang and you seeing 4 big bangs.
Yeah, especially if he still has his battle speed set to 1. I know it's also common for runners who do reflex strats to set the battle speed down to 2 or 3 to get a couple extra turns in. But if you have your battle speed set to 1, having a low agility character in the center spot can help you get a couple extra turns in there to get some extra spells off before like the second big bang goes off.
His true colors emerge again to Cloud of Darkness from Final Fantasy III. I can't get over it. I have not seen this one before, and it looks just fantastic.
We see the first nuke from Kate Sith actually whiffs. That can happen right after Zeromus transforms into his true colors. If you attack or use an item or do whatever you're going to do a little bit too quickly, basically the transformation into that second form there's a period of time where you have to wait just kind of a tick before Zeromus actually becomes vulnerable before you can actually do anything to him. And if you attack or try to cast a spell or do anything to him too quickly, the attack will actually whiff.
Yeah, so this game does this weird thing, which is not the case in later Final Fantasy games, where if your target no longer exists or is dead, your damaging spells and abilities don't change their target to the next available enemy or ally. So like if you're throwing healing on your own characters, it's still going to try to heal them even if they're dead. And if you're trying to damage an enemy, it's still going to try to target that enemy even if they're dead or non-existent, which is what happens. The Zeromus enemy actually changes to a different enemy, and you're still trying to target the original one, which is not there any longer.
We see Kate Sith taking an unfortunate reset here. He tried to get a silk web off on Zeromus directly, and that's for 2 reasons. That's to lower Zeromus's speed, and also to nerf the first big bang. Unfortunately, he was not fast enough in getting that silk web out, and so the first big bang was at full power and took out half of his party. And he seems like he didn't feel like he could recover from that, so he decided to reset out. Now, fortunately, he does have the pass, and so he's right here in Troya and is able to get right back into that Z fight pretty quickly.
And while that wipe was being taken and Kate Sith was walking back in, we had another finish from JJ Blue in 9th place with a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes, and 25 seconds. And RPG Mel 710 finished in 10th place with a time of 1 hour, 53 minutes, and 34 seconds.
And GG to both of them. Meanwhile, it looks like Pixel Tamer did get through the evil wall in the sealed cave, got that tower key, went back up into the Tower of Babel, didn't get anything from that tower, and now is following up on the pan. It's going to be hitting Yang with that pan. Not going to get anything from the Sylphs, as I recall. Is going to get the Legend Sword, I believe. Yeah, it gets a Bahamut here from the Sylphs, but it's going to get a Legend Sword from Sheila.
Inching closer and closer to go mode as these checks are checked off. Meanwhile, Rumblefish is actually doing some more moon grinding. Not sure if just wanted the levels for moon bosses that were a little tricky, or is just trying to get the grind out of the way now before returning to Earth, as the King Ryus are actually slightly faster than eggs if you do it right. Not quite as lucrative since there's no life glitch, but if you are fast at them, they still give more EXP. White mages usually aren't preferred for reflex stress either, just because white takes a little longer to get than nuke in most cases, and also because you want your white mages to also be doing healing as well. But with 2 white mages, it's not too bad.
Looks like Kate Seth did manage to get that Silk Web off at a good time. Got the nuke reflect, but it hit his low-level Edward, so that was a perfect target for that nuke counter, and got the Big Bang nerf, and so he's in good shape for the setup for the rest of this fight here.
Yeah, and Pixel Tamer making another heartbreaking choice here, going to Zotfer. So basically going to end up having checked everything by the time he finally goes to Cave Magnus.
Yeah, we'll see what is at the top of Zot here. If this is another rabbit hole, we'll see if he's going to follow that, or if he's going to follow up on the Twin Harp next. And there's the flash on Kate Seth's screen. Kate Seth is coming in 11th place with a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 20 seconds, followed immediately by BG Rich, 419, in 12th place with a time of 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 43 seconds. So GG to both of them.
Yeah, here at the top of Zot has got to be either the Rat Tail or the Baron Key. So if it's the Baron Key, I have to hope you get teleported to Baron after this. So it would be a shame if Pixel decides, oh, that's a better route, and goes to Baron. We are going to get Kate Sith 2 in here for an interview shortly, so stay tuned for that while we watch our players get through these spots. And also, Rumblefish is about to get the right item here as well. Okay, we are now joined by Kate Sith 2. Kate Sith, what did you think of that seed?
Kind of an interesting one. I noticed that a large majority of the key items were concentrated on the moon this time around, or that's what it seemed like.
Yes, they were. There was quite an assortment of key items up there for you to choose from once you got back down to the blue planet, and you picked the right one as soon as you got back down there going for that twin harp.
It's like I just wanted to. I kind of knew there were plenty of rabbit holes in that. Like to potentially throw me off.
Yeah, it kind of hurts watching all of you come up with really good and unique strategies to hit the early hard bosses like the Land of Summon Monsters bosses, and come out with not much to show for it.
Yeah.
You had a really good run. You were actually the last of the on-screen runners to get to the underground, but you came back really well since you were kind of a little bit behind there. Following up on the moon, and then you were the second one to go up to the moon and clear out the moon and then get that crystal. So, good job, following up and, coming back from that.
Yeah.
What do you think was your best routing decision tonight?
It was just. Well, I was just kind of deciding to go for the moon instead of try to take out Keinatsu.
Yeah, that Keinatsu fight is definitely trolly in that summon boss location down in the Feymarch. There were a couple of other people who tried it, and it hit them pretty hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all they just so you know, all they got for it was an Excalibur. So.
Ooh, so glad I didn't attempt go back there then.
Yeah, definitely a nice GG's, man. Second place of the featured runners, and yeah, is there anything else you want to say about the seed before we get going?
Not really.
Well, thanks for letting us watch your restream and be restreamed tonight, and GG on your finish.
Yep.
We are back now to see what Rumblefish and Pixel do. Pixel Tamer did get the rat tail from Zot, so has now picked up the hovercraft and is going to check that right away. Now we know it's going to be a Baron key, so now the decision is he going to check the Baron key or is he going to check K Magnus?
Correction, Keinatsu has the hook, according to the spoiler log.
Yeah, he did get the hook, and so he's able to turn that rat tail in, and was just able to pick up that Baron key. So we'll see where he's going to go from here.
That's right. The Mylon Z down there had the Excalibur.
So where was the rat tail? Because I kind of missed it in the spoiler log.
It was at Zot.
Yeah, looks like Pixel Tamer is deciding to dive that Baron key that he just picked up. So again, like, we know that this is not the right play. This is he's got everything he needs. He's got that twin harp, but he's going for all the rabbit holes tonight. It's just unfortunate for us to watch as the viewers, knowing that he has what he needs and he's just not. He's going down all the wrong rabbit holes here.
Yeah, and this is a double rabbit hole because I'm sure after he checks, he's going to also try for the Odin boss spot as well. Which no one's shown us it, so it'd be nice to see what it is, but also kind of it hurts.
Yeah, I think that if I'm not mistaken, and if he's checked everything else, is the Baron King going to have either Pink Tail or Adamant And then I haven't been watching the spoiler logs. So is one of them going to have Adamant and Pinktail, and then Odin's going to have the other? Because those are the only two boss spots that we haven't seen yet, right?
Yeah, so at least we know if he wants to turn it in, he'll have another Adamant armor available. Also, he picked up Sid. He's the only one to pick up Sid.
Yeah, there was a Sid at the top of Zot.
That might change the calculus, and Pixel may decide to do a more hybrid strat instead of a pure reflex strat.
We'll also see what character is here in Baron Castle. If this is another Sid or even a Kane, he especially may decide to do hybrid strats.
Yeah, there are good weapons available. We've seen some good spears, and I know we've definitely seen a rune axe, so it's not going to be terrible if you have triple berserkers, because Pixel's going to have to grind a little bit for the mages anyways, and the melee attackers will catch up to good HP levels.
Looks like Rumblefish has now cleared out the lunar bosses and is coming back down to the blue planet, so we'll see where he decides to go first now that he's gathered all of those key items that were available up on the moon.
Chat, send Rumblefish your music energy.
Well, he's headed toward Troya. He's headed north.
Yeah, so just like that, Rumblefish is going to leapfrog Pixel just by making a different decision.
Yeah, even though it took him much longer to get through that lunar subterrane, if he gets through this Cave Magnus, which I can't imagine he's going to have too much trouble with this, he's going to get that be the first of these two to get that crystal. Pixel finding another Sid in Baron Castle, but deciding to dismiss that second Sid. And J Money Motos with the gift subs. Thank you so much for donating those 5 gift subs to the community.
Everyone should have access to these great emotes, so spreading the joy. And for those of you who are new subscribers, these the emotes for Free Enterprise channel are linked to Discord, so you can use the subscriber emotes in the Discord channel as well.
Yeah, even more incentive to come join our Discord if you haven't already. So I think the Pixel Tamer got the pink tail for defeating that Golbez in the Baron Throne Room. And Rumblefish is going on to the Dark Elf fight and is about to get the crystal momentarily.
Ooh, that is not what we wanted to see at the Odin spot. Plague is a little nasty. The only thing that will help here is this spot has fairly low HP considering the damage potential here. There are ways to cheese this fight. You can kill your own party members and then revive them to make the count reset. You can reflect early and have Plague count himself. a couple of ways to get through it. But if you're not prepared for this fight, you usually run out of time to do any of those strats.
Yeah, looks like Pixel is ready for this fight, has some coffins, and is using one of them on Sid in order to kill Sid off, and then is using life on Sid. That's going to cause Plague to reset the count tracker. And as long as he can keep doing that for as long as possible, he shouldn't have too much trouble getting through this fight.
Oh, and gets the final hit as party members are starting to drop. Very nice.
Yeah, that was actually close because I think that Porum that fell was the Porum that was supposed to revive that Sid. So that was kind of a clinch win there.
I think Rumblefish is going to pick up Kane.
Yeah, Rumble got the crystal, but is going into Kaipo, has the sand ruby, and is going into the house in the back of the town now. He's using that sand ruby to revive Kane. This makes me happy because I'm always happy to see a Kane in the party, so...
Yeah, Kane's a very solid character. It's a shame that we're getting him so late because he can use a variety of equipment, has some of the, the more powerful weapons. His spears aren't as good as Cecil's swords, but as a second best damage dealer, he's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if Rumblefish has I know there's been a Avenger that someone has found. I don't know if Rumblefish has it or not, but yeah, it looks like they've got a Dragoon Spear anyway, and that's a very good weapon for Kane as well.
Yeah, so picking up the Kane after the party's pretty much halfway grinded. As I said, Kane's going to catch up as far as HP level goes before the mages are ready to go anyways, so that's not going to be a concern. Especially since the very first grind battle that they do will catapult him. In this randomizer, there is a flag setting. Basically, it's kind of a way to catch up characters you get later. If they are less than a certain amount below the average level of your party, they will actually gain much more experience until they catch up into that level.
Yeah, it's a term commonly called slingshotting, whereas if you have 5 party members and some of them are higher level than the others, and the lower level party members will get extra XP to get caught up to those higher level party members.
Pixel Tamer not too far behind here. Gonna get the crystal here from this fight and then go on to grind himself. So right now it's gonna be who can grind the fastest or who needs to grind the least, and then who has a faster Zeromus fight.
And Smapedy, our restreamer, thank you for the 5-month subscription. Greatly appreciated.
Poor Kane crying in the back row.
Kane with that Dragoon Spear equipped is actually going to do a considerable amount of damage to those eggs. The eggs, if you hit them without killing them, would hatch a yellow dragon. But even without hatching them into the dragon, they're still considered a dragon. So anything that does extra damage to dragons, like the Dragon Whip, Artemis arrows, and the Dragoon Spear on Kane, is going to do extra damage to those eggs. So Kane with that Dragoon Spear is probably going to one-shot those eggs if Rumblefish runs out of coffins here.
Yeah, and we see Rumblefish's Cane already has 2,400 HP, so well ahead. The mages still have like 500 to 700 HP more needed to be in the safe zone. So this Cane's going to be over 3,000 by the time they reach that.
Yeah, Kane has one of the best HP growths in the game. Not as good as Young or Sid or even Cecil, but still definitely higher than the mages and one of the highest among the other melee fighters as well.
Yeah, and since physical defense isn't actually useful against Zeromus, since he only uses magic attacks, really there's a few key pieces of equipment that you want against Zeromus, because there's some very standout pieces of armor as far as magic defense goes, and Kane can equip a few of them. So I haven't actually been paying attention because we didn't have a plate armor wearer up until now as to what Rumblefish actually has access to, but Kane's going to be safe either way. Even with initial equipment, with the HP level he's going to be at, he's pretty safe.
Looks like Pixel Tamer is not bothering to grind. He's going to go straight into that Z fight, using that pass to go into Troya and go straight to the moon. I saw a quick look at his levels. They're like high 40s, so a little bit on the low side. We'll see what his strategy and what his plan is for this fight. This will be real exciting to watch.
Yeah, at this low level, we're going to be looking for Big Bang nerfs pretty much every time in order to make sure the mages live. That's when you cast a spell on Zeromus, causing him to counter you right before he's about to cast Big Bang, which changes his spell power. They actually couldn't program all the spells right to have the damage ranges they wanted, so he actually changes his spell power to cast Big Bang and changes it back to counterattack. We're going to see that technique used, and this is really bold, but it could actually let Pixel Tamer take the lead over Rumblefish. So if it works, it's a great move. The mage character's not going to have Nuke, not going to have Holy, so I got to expect Pixel's going to be relying on Edward and Sid to deal the damage here, which with no Bacchus Wines that I saw, meaning the Porums are going to have to be re-berserking them after the black holes.
He does have 2 Porums at least, so he can get those double berserks off, if he can time it properly. Going immediately for the crystal nerf, he may not have a Silk Web in order to nerf that Zeromus right off the bat here.
Sid taking the counter nuke, that's good luck on Pixel Tamer's part, because if that had hit Edward, it would have killed him.
Immediately getting the berserks up on... it looks like one of the berserks may have missed, but immediately trying to get the berserks up on his melee fighters.
Yeah, I didn't see what accessory Edward is using, but there are some that prevent Berserk. I wonder if Pixel has one of those equipped and didn't realize it before coming in. Good timing on the nerf. You see that only around 600 damage from that Big Bang. That means the nerf was successful.
Was able to land that Berserk on Edward this time, so I'm wondering if that Porum's white magic power is just so low that she wasn't able to land it. I have seen before certain spells like Berserk Life sometimes just don't land if your mage's white magic stat is just not high enough.
Oh yeah, the good old-fashioned life spell miss. That's really rude when it happens. Rumblefish is now coming up, and this is where we're going to see the test of these two strategies, because although Pixel has been in the battle for quite a bit, it's going to be a much longer fight, both due to the damage able to be put out and the fact that Zeromus is going to do the health refill. So it's entirely possible Rumblefish can blow through the phase 1, skip the refill, and still come out on top here.
Pixel Tamer using that crystal to nerf Zeromus again, but getting an unfortunate nuke counter on his Edward. Now, he did manage to get the nerf on the second Big Bang, so the rest of his party is still okay, but he is going to have to get that Edward up as soon as possible.
Now I'm checking out the spell list here on these forums for Pixel. I don't think Pixel actually has Cure 4, meaning Sid's HP is going to slowly creep down as the Cure 3s don't keep up.
Yeah, I noticed that too. He's either going to have to do a direct Cure 3 heal on Sid at some point, or maybe if he has a Cure 3 item that he can throw or something. But yeah, it does not look like he even has Cure 4 on those forums.
So this is more risky than I thought it was. I gotta give major kudos for Pixel for trying this fight at these levels with this party.
This is seriously a very interesting and exciting fight to watch. Over on Rumblefish's side, he's getting into his fight. His characters are much higher level. This is a much safer fight. Looks like he nerfed the first Big Bang. The counter nuke went on to a low-level Edward that he picked up to do agility anchoring, so he's got a very good setup for his fight.
Yeah, and depending on how closely Rumblefish is counting damage, it is still possible to skip the health refill by reflecting a nuke onto Zeromus at the exact right time before your Berserkers make that happen. It's really tricky timing, and you have to have some mental math going on, but I've definitely seen it, and it's very clutch when it happens. You'll see some runners use, if they get, it's a little known item, I'm forgetting the name of it at the moment, I don't use it that often, that actually casts heal on your whole party, that they'll use to kind of stop the Berserkers at the correct time once they've got the damage through.
The unicorn horn, or unicorn as Smapty is saying.
Yeah, that's exactly the one. It's a very little used item, but can be key if you're really trying to blow through Zeromus' HP. Of course, coffins are the poor man's unicorn, as we like to say.
Pixel Tamer down to a single Porum. Saw a nuke come out on Zeromus, but it looks like it missed her.
Wow, and getting two characters up and healed. This is a pretty good recovery. I did not think that was going to happen.
Pulling out that crystal to get the nerf on the next Big Bang here. This is a clutch fight if I've ever seen one.
Meanwhile, Gambit 017 has finished in 13th with a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 36 seconds. GG.
GG to Gambit. We're seeing another Big Bang here on Pixel's screen. Oh, and that is an unfortunate wipe for Pixel. It looks like that may not have actually been a nerfed Big Bang, even though it looks like his timing was good, but it looks like it may not have actually been nerfed. So that is a very unfortunate wipe for Pixel.
Going straight back into that, that is very bold. With the dot duns that are in now, Pixel has got to be assuming that everyone is either in go mode or in the Zeromus fight right now, and is just trying to still get that last little edge. Rumblefish, on the other hand, has Iridia down. Has an Edward at critical, is looking through, has been looking through the inventory a couple of times, I guess looking for, just deciding what to do now. Decides to try to nerf with the crystal.
Yeah, I saw on his screen only a Kane alive after a Big Bang, so he's kind of in recovery mode, trying to just get everybody back up here, I think.
Now, luckily, Rumblefish has the low-level anchor, and so is dealing with a pretty slow Zeromus. On faster Zeromuses, there's no way you could get more than one character back up and healed before the next Big Bang, but it just shows you the power of agility anchoring as far as what it gives you time to do, especially if you're fast in your menus and not letting extra ATB ticks pass by.
Managing to get Edward and Porum back up and healed, getting Edward berserked, and using jump with Kane. So able to get back into this fight. I think he's pretty well recovered. Probably gonna leave that Iridia dead. She probably has nuke, but with only one character doing reflect strats, he may be just looking to go pure berserk and melee strats for this fight.
Yeah, also Rumblefish showing off the damage ranges possible in this game. This game has really wonky damage ranges. So last counter nuke went on Porum and only dealt 300 damage. The next counter nuke goes on Porum, deals 1,000 damage. It's very unpredictable, especially in the Zeromus fight, what you're actually going to get hit with.
Yeah, absolutely. You think you'll be safe. You're like, oh, that nuke is only going to do a few hundred damage, and then all of a sudden it's doing double, triple, quadruple damage.
Yeah, I mean, that Edward almost just got one shot. I mean, the Big Bang was going to kill him anyways, but still. No life 2 available. I don't know, or maybe just doesn't want to spend the MP for life 2, so gonna have to get him up, heal him. Kane was out of the way, which is a good strat now that it's getting risky, so.
And there again, we see a very low roll nuke on Porum, which was pretty lucky considering she had less than 1,000 hit points left at that point. So she's able to get another Cure 4 up on the party and get everybody recovered here.
Yeah, we're seeing, even in Pixel's wipe, we saw some really good luck. So it just goes to show you never know. Like, sometimes you can tough it out. I mean, I've seen players and have toughed through some Z fights myself where I really had no chance unless every Big Bang was a low roll, and sometimes you make it, you hit the jackpot.
We see Pixel summoning Bahamut with his Iridia over on his Z fight. Bahamut does a ton of damage, but is typically not considered ideal for the Z fight because it cannot be reflected, and direct damage against Zeromus, spell damage, is going to get that counter nuke. And we saw Iridia eat that counter nuke and fall as a result of it. So usually nuke is going to be preferred with your black magic users. However, Iridia doesn't have nuke, so he may just be looking to do a little bit of extra damage with her wherever he can.
Yeah, and you might say, well, just use Bahamut to nerf. You have to nerf anyways, and you're going to eat a counter nuke anyways. But Bahamut's cast time is too long to do that unless you're really, really skilled and have really good timing. So it gets tough. The reason nuke is preferred for nerfing Big Bangs is because it has no wait time before casting. So you can know exactly how many ticks you need and when you need to cast it to get the nerf out correct.
Yeah, it actually looked like Pixel was considering doing a Bahamut nerf. He had gone into the summon monster list there and was about to select Bahamut, but Zeromus began the shake, which is the indicator that Zeromus is about to use Big Bang, so he decided to do the crystal nerf instead.
Now, Rumblefish, the first person showing us the Meteo phase now. The other runners have skipped that because they skipped the refill, but this shows us Zeromus is in the final stages and is just about to die. So we're going to see if Iridia can make this work. Got the Moon Veil off, is going to nuke, direct nuke for the win. Had Iridia revived after being dead the whole battle, and it looks like it should be soon. And we'll see if this is the one.
And there is the flash on Rumblefish's screen. So GG to Rumblefish. That was quite the clench finish, but he did get through it in the end, coming in 14th place with a time of 2 hours, 30 minutes, and 3 seconds. So GG to Rumblefish.
Looks like we will be getting Rumblefish in here for an interview shortly. And meanwhile, Pixel Tamer is going to try again. We are now joined by Rumblefish82. GG's on completing Rumblefish, and really clutch on that Z fight. Some swag reviving Iridia, the fan favorite tonight.
Well, thank you for that. I think that in many ways, though, my performance is how you not do a siege. It was not exactly a top tier finish, so I've had better runs.
GG on finishing, though. I mean, this was, not an easy seed in all respects. There were some tough bosses here. We did see a forfeit in the chat. I think it would have been real easy to call it a night at any time. And you went ahead and saw it through to the end and finished. So GG for, finishing it out and seeing it through to the end.
Well, thank you for that, because and I do take, I think that it was a tough seed, to be fair. You think that if you have a spoon on Edward and an ad event on Iridia, it's going to be relatively smooth sailing, but no, because a lot of the bosses like I was running into just did not care that Iridia had adamant armor on, like Cagnazzo and the Azure, or the Wyvern in the Salamone spot, and Edward is still, even if he has a spoon, he's still very paper Finn. He has no defense whatsoever. So, I mean, I guess I do take a little. I guess I do give myself props for finishing it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any seed that you can walk away from, and yeah, the characters in this seed were like you said, you had the spoon on Edward, you had Bahamut, and some good spells on Rydia, but still, these are not like top tier characters. So very low hit point characters, difficult characters to do the Z fight with for sure.
I never found Bahamut. Where was that?
I think it was in Rydia's mother's house in Mist Village.
Wow, well, that would have been an easy find. It's a shame that I never actually went there.
Yeah, you were the first of the runners to go check Sheila 1 and get the spoon, and you were melting through some bosses that the others are having trouble with. It's just the routing didn't work in your favor near the end there, and the moon kind of got you tied up. But at first, you were really, really crushing it.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I think I had some difficulty, with some bosses quite a bit early on. Like the Dwarf Cave battle was just not fair. I have to go through all that scene with the elements and kind of just barely make it through, and then to have to Pain Man to the Dark Cecil fight, and just to have him obliterate you. And then when I finally got enough that, oh yeah, boss bet is not on, so I actually have to beat Cecil. I can't just wait him out. So then I got to be the. Luckily, I had a self on Rydia, and that was basically. I was clutching it through to the end for that fight.
Yeah, that set of bosses in Dwarf Castle trolled a lot of people. You were not the only one. That was one of the tougher spots that got a lot of people, and a lot of people wiped to that spot multiple times.
Well, all right, that's good to know, because when that happened, I felt like I wiped there I think 2 times, and well into the battle, and I thought, oh, that's just it. I'm just not going to be able to make a place. But I was able to get through. But there are, and I feel and some of it was just kind of my own miscalculation. Like I forgot that Wyvern, if you use a summon spell on Wyvern, he'll respond with Mega Nuke, and I forgot that not once but twice. So that cost me some time there. I mean, it's kind of a little things add up, and I did have made some bad choices. I mean, I went to Moon first, which is where which was the right play, except that I did the ribbon fight, finished that, and then I went back down to the Earth without going to. I think it's you're supposed to go to the Crystal Sword spot and then take that down to the Agnes Cave. I do have one. I don't know if you guys saw, but I swear to God, I had a bug during the ribbon fight that Edward was frozen. I don't know if you noticed this, but he wasn't paralyzed or anything. But he would just his turn would just never come up. I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that.
Yeah, I did notice that. I didn't see what you did beforehand, but I did see him not doing anything, and I know that sometimes happens when Hyde and Berserk conflict in weird ways, or getting revived in Berserk conflict in weird ways. It is a known bug, I think.
Okay, good, because I thought I was going crazy there, because I thought I thought for sure Edward needed to be doing something by now, and then Rydia was doing okay. I mean, she had the flame whip on and against Mylon, so she very slowly, tickled him to death with that flame whip. But Edward needed to be doing more, definitely.
Cool. Now, what do you think your best decision of the seed was?
Best decision of the seed. Well, I mean, you mentioned that I got the. It was Antlion Cave, actually, because there were the 3 good treasures there. I think there was 2 white shirts in Antlion Cave, and or at least there was 1 white shirt and 1 adamant, and that's pretty good armor for these low-level characters. And I mean, that really helped me early on with some good defense. So I mean, I think that it was. I could have tried a few other things, a few other places, but I think just making sure that you check that box off with Antlion Cave at the start was a good decision for me.
Yeah, there was definitely some good treasure to be found here, and that adamant armor early on definitely helped you out, and definitely the spoon, as we said early on, you being the first person to do that Sheila 1 check was a good play as well.
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, I mean, the seed, and sometimes you just can't win all of them. I mean, sometimes you just go, it's 17 out of 17. You just make the wrong choices. But one thing that you did not see that I thought was a good decision on my part was that once I saw that nobody was hitting done for a while, and I had gone for quite a ways in the game without going to Mount Ordeals, I figured that it cannot possibly be for Mount Ordeals because it would be such an easy play for people to make early on. So that's why I ended up skipping that throughout the seed.
Yeah, and definitely that metagaming can, with the dones can influence people. So I think there was only one person on stream who actually did maybe two, who did Mount Ordeals.
Mm-hmm. That would make sense.
Very cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to share about tonight before we let you go and see how Pixel Tamer's doing on Zeromus?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that, the league is coming up for the Final Fantasy Enterprise randomizer, and I'm just going to get my next to last place finishes out of my system right now during the community race. So, and then I will have a great showing when it really counts during the league qualifiers.
Absolutely. So we definitely look forward to seeing your runs coming up in the league qualifiers next month. And we want to thank you so much for letting us restream you. It was a great race. And again, just for hanging in there, even through these tough seeds, and seeing it through to the end.
Thank you much.
Turning back now to Pixel Tamer, who's our last remaining runner, trying the Zeromus fight again, has not done any additional grinding, so is determined to get it through with this party.
We did see Pixel go into the treasury in Troya Basement that opens up when you get the Earth Crystal, and they did get an extra adamant armor from there. So we'll see if they, if that helps them out at all during this Z fight.
Oh, heck, there is another wipe for Pixel Tamer. That's rough, especially considering he entered the battle for the first time well before Rumblefish, and it looks like that is going to be a forfeit from Pixel Tamer. GG's for sticking it out so far, Pixel. That was very bold on this Zeromus fight, and I got to commend him for.
Yeah, absolutely. This was, like we said when we were talking with Rumblefish, this was not an easy seed, even though we had kind of what we thought was going to be an easy start. We had that Darkness Crystal to start. We had an Edward with a relatively easy spoon. We had early adamant armor right away. This still was not an easy seed, all things considered, with these final characters and the bosses where they were. So GG to Pixel for seeing it through as far as he did.
Yeah, and before we cut out for tonight, we are going to have a small chat with Pixel as our last restreamed runner, and then we will get out of your hair. We are joined by Pixel Tamer now, and before we say anything else, Pixel, I gotta say, those Zeromus levels, that took real guts. When you were heading there, the first thing we said was, man, this is going to be a really good fight, and it was. I mean, you're really impressed with trying to go at that low level.
Thanks. I didn't think I would get a whole lot more hit points if I kept grinding, so I decided to just go for it.
Yeah, that was one thing that we continually said throughout this seed was that this party, with this setup with the Iridias and the Porums and the Edward, was a very low hit point party. So GG to you for seeing it through as far as you did, and you know, trying it with the strats that you had. You really had some very exciting plays that you did in the fights that you were doing with Zeromus there.
Thanks. I think I need to practice the nerfing timing a bit more because it feels like I just missed it 1 or 2 times, and that's what wiped me each time.
Yeah, definitely. If those nerfs would have been a little bit more on, and even I don't know how the nerf timing works. I usually get the first one, and then I'm like, if I need to do the rest of them, it's hopeless. So GG to you for getting the ones, anything beyond the first one. So if we're able to get anything beyond that, I think you're doing pretty well.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Also, wish I didn't quite get so bogged down on Dwarf Castle, but at least it got me the pass.
You're not the first person tonight to say that. We just were chatting with Rumblefish, and he basically said the same thing. That Dwarf Castle Elements plus Pain Man trolled several people tonight. So you're not the only one who got caught up with that combination of bosses there.
Yeah, and I gotta say, going to Zeromus early was, it was very exciting over here. You couldn't see, but it actually lets you leapfrog ahead of Rumblefish. You got into the Zeromus fight first because you tried that, so.
Well, it's good to know that I was not in last place the entire time, so I'll take that where I can get it.
You had a really good run, all things considered, considering that you ended up doing 17 out of 17, essentially. You had some really good plays. This was just a matter of rando and rando, where, Yeah, it was. And we were just saying that, even though there were some good start, you had a good start with the Darkness Crystal. You had an Edward with a spoon available. You had an adamant armor early on. There was still some very difficult spots in this seed, like we said, with that Dwarf Castle, Kanyatsu down in the Land of the Summoned Monsters. Your character is only having very limited hit points. So for you to do as much as you did, basically full clearing the seed, you did a fantastic job.
Cool, thanks. I really appreciate hearing that.
Do you have anything else you want to say about your routing choices or the seed itself tonight before we let everybody go?
Just that I wish I'd remembered to save after hitting Yang with the pan the first time and didn't have to redo that. That cost me a couple minutes, but also I've gained a lot of new respect for Spoonward. I thought he was a meme, but now I can see that he can put out a lot of damage.
Absolutely, yeah. Gotta have respect for the Spoony Bard there.
Otherwise, yeah, thanks for having me on stream, and one of these days I will do better than the bottom 3.
Well, thank you so much for letting us restream you and putting on such a great show. Again, just GG for sticking it out right till the very end there.
And thanks to the community for being great.
And that will be it for all of us tonight, folks. Looks like we are gonna wrap it up. Just to keep in mind, we do have, we've talked about it a little bit about it, but the Highway to the Zeromus Zone coming up this summer. Go check out, see if you want to qualify. You still have time to practice. And, this is Smakety here doing our restreaming, making all the magic work. Couch23 with the item tracking, and my co-commentator Maggie doing great tonight. And thank you for coming. Have anything else for us, Maggie?
No, just thanks again to all of our restreamed runners. They all did a fantastic job tonight, putting on such a great show for us. And thanks so much for J Money Motos for co-commentating with me. It's always a pleasure to do these community races. And I hope everyone had a wonderful time at the show tonight and has a wonderful rest of your evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are.